In Natasha Trethewey's Pulitzer Prize-winning work, the human body itself becomes a kind of historical text, one that tells a truth that official records often try to bury. So today, we're going to unpack a really powerful section from her collection, Native Guard, to see exactly how she pulls this off. Right at the beginning, we're hit with this haunting question from Frederick Douglass, and it just perfectly frames the whole poem. It makes you ask, right? What actually gets remembered from history? Who gets to decide? And what happens when the official story just leaves whole groups of people out? That's the real tension we're going to get into.
Okay, let's dive in. The poem doesn't ease you into it. It drops you right into this very specific, kind of raw moment. There's a literal storm brewing, and it's about to teach everyone a much, much deeper lesson about memory.
So the setting here is absolutely crucial. We're on Ship Island, Mississippi, and we're seeing this through the eyes of a soldier in the Louisiana Native Guards. Now, these were one of the very first Black regiments in the Union Army. And think about the irony here. You have former slaves and free men of color who are now guarding the Confederate prisoners who fought to keep them enslaved.
And then, boom, chaos. A storm rolls in and supplies are getting washed away. But it's the sound that Trethewey focuses on. The ropes cracking like whips. Wow, that imagery is so sharp. It instantly connects what these soldiers are doing now, their labor, with the trauma of their past. It's a reminder that even in freedom, the echo of slavery is always there.
Now, on the surface, this is just a practical lesson, right? Tie down your supplies so you don't lose them. But this line is really the heart of the whole poem. It's a huge metaphor for history itself. If you don't secure it, if you don't write it down and protect it, it'll just get washed away.
So, after the storm blows over, things get quiet. And it's in this moment of camaraderie that the poem shows us a totally different kind of historical record, one that's permanent and isn't written in ink. It's written in flesh. You can almost picture it. The men are working, they start to sing together, finding this rhythm and community. And it's right in the middle of this moment that one soldier does something simple, but so profound that it completely shifts the focus of the entire poem. And there it is. This is the absolute core of the poem. In one incredible simile, Trethewey connects the physical proof of violence, these whip scars, directly to the act of writing in a journal. The body, she's telling us, is its own kind of book. It's its own historical document. So let's talk about that word she uses, crosshatched. It's so specific. What does she really mean by that? Let's break this metaphor down, because this is where the physical body and the written text just collide. See, the narrator isn't just writing in any old empty notebook. No, he's writing in a journal he found, and it already has writing in it from a Confederate soldier. So he's literally writing over the old words. His story is physically intersecting with and correcting the story of his oppressor. It's an act of rewriting history. This really breaks down that amazing simile for us. On one side, you have the scars. That's a history that was violently written on the body. But on the other side, you have the journal. That's a history being deliberately reclaimed by the self. Trethewey is putting an act of violence on the same level as an act of powerful personal testimony.
And all of this leads to a pretty profound idea. In a world where official histories are often biased or just plain incomplete, maybe the body itself is the most fundamental, the most undeniable record we have. The narrator gets that you can't always trust memory. It's tricky. As he says, it's flawed, changeful. And that line, dulls the lash for the master, sharpens it for the slave, it's incredible. He's saying that memory changes depending on who holds the power. For the master, it softens the past. For the enslaved, it keeps the pain sharp. He needs something more solid than that. This table kind of lays out the poem's whole argument. Official records, they're often written by the winners, erasing the parts they don't like. Personal memory, well, it's unreliable. But the body, those physical scars, they carry a truth that's permanent. It's a text that can't be edited away, even if people try their best to ignore it. So this brings up a huge question. If official history has failed these men and the story their bodies tell is hidden or ignored, then how on earth are these soldiers supposed to be remembered for their sacrifice? And this isn't just a philosophical question. It's a hard historical fact. Despite the huge role they played, there is no official monument on Ship Island for the Louisiana Native Guards. Their service was a victim of what Trethewey calls historic erasure. They were, quite simply, intentionally forgotten.
And that's where poetry comes in. This is the whole point. Trethewey builds the monument herself, but she uses words instead of stone. She gives a voice to these forgotten soldiers. She takes their story and puts it into these beautiful, formal sonnets. The poem itself becomes the monument that history refused to build.
And it's through this incredible work of art that she makes her point. She goes back to that lesson from the storm. She ties down what we will keep. She creates a powerful, permanent record to make sure the story of the Native Guard is never, ever washed away.
In the end, the poem leaves us wrestling with this really big question. Which is the truer history? The one written with a pen or the one carved into the body? Which text can you really trust? And maybe the most important question of all, who gets to be the author? It really forces you to think about where we look for the truth and whose stories we choose to remember.